The thinking is, yes lives in a world of no, and all you have to do is ask. And the truth is, if you get a no, you're no worse off than you were before. But there's a good chance you're going to get a yes.
You're listening to the Bright Podcast, where we interview business leaders to learn insights and tips they use to navigate their industry. Now let's get back to the conversation.
Hey, my name's Brett Winn. I am co-founder, partner at the Refinery Creative. We are an entertainment marketing agency. We do all the marketing for TV shows and movies, for theatrical, broadcast, and streaming. We do trailers and TV spots and social and digital and out of home and posters. And we're located here in Los Angeles, California.
It's so great to have you here today. I'm excited to have you on the podcast because I want to talk about not only your background at Disney and what you did, and both of us have that in common, but I really want to dive in and be vulnerable about how can we be the best leaders possible to build the best organization to make the biggest impact in the world. The stuff you're doing here, Brett, is really reaching millions of people, which is exciting.
Millions of people.
Millions of people. And there's all kinds of fun we can have. In addition to that, how do we be the best leaders? And so I want to ask you first, and I might even double click on some of your stories to dive in deeper. What is unique to your organization, your business, in your industry? What makes you different?
We are the guys you want to call. There's a lot of creative agencies out there. They all do amazing work. But I find that because of who we are, because we're kind, we're passionate, we are driven, we're talented, and we will go above and beyond to get you what you need. I feel like we're the go-to guys. We're the guys you want to hang out with. We're the guys you want to talk to, that you want to play in the creative space with. And I feel that really separates us from the pack. And I feel like over the years, I've always been known as the nice guy. And I think when I was younger, I felt like, ooh, the nice guy, is that really the thing I want to be known for? And I find that over the years, that's actually come back to be one of our greatest attributes, because I'm focused on being kind in the way I handle myself and handle everyone at work. We're known for having one of the best cultures in the industry.
Give me an example of the nice guy being the go-to, the people you want on cell phone. Do you have an example of a customer? They call this late night, we figured it out.
Yes. In fact, it's happened twice in the last 24 hours, right? We have a client, we're working on a trailer that's got to play in theaters before Despicable Me. And the trailer wasn't locked, and yet they need it finished by tomorrow, which in our world is kind of a tall order. However, I knew what they needed. I've had a long-standing relationship. And when they say, can you do it? We say, yes, let's dive in. And so I jumped back in the editing chair, which I don't do all that often, but I do have a background as an editor for many years. And this client is someone I used to work with when I was at a company called Trailer Park, and he was at Disney, actually. So I did a number of Pixar movie trailers with this client. And so we have a long-standing relationship. And so we just rolled up our sleeves yesterday and worked in an office all day getting the trailer together. And then we had to noodle some things, and I had some meetings, and I came back to it last night and stayed up all night polishing the trailer to then finish it today and get it out tomorrow.
Yeah, so it's really a whirlwind right now, working around the clock for this huge movie, by the way. Huge movie. Yeah. Kids go rave over that franchise. Okay, let's dive into something interesting. This is where I think it gets really, there's grit that we as leaders have. Former Josh used to go, oh, that's too hard. And now I'm like, don't ever give up. How do we refine it? And this is what I think you and I really connected on when we chatted before this call. I want to ask you, what's your favorite saying in your company that's relevant recently, especially with anything you might be going through right now or a past story on business? I want to hear the saying and then the story behind the saying.
The saying is, yes lives in a world of no. And I did not create that. There's actually a book, I believe, called Yes Lives in a World of No. But my experience came from seeing a mentalist, an illusionist, a mentalist named Wayne Hoffman. And I thought I was just going to be in for entertainment for the night. And lo and behold, Wayne imparted these words of wisdom that every person I've talked to and told the story, and then talked about my personal journey, about what that meant to me and my company, has adopted that theory and used it on a daily basis. And so the thinking is, yes lives in a world of no, and all you have to do is ask. And the truth is, if you get a no, you're no worse off than you were before. But there's a good chance you're going to get a yes. It's like roulette, right? We talk about roulette, and the casinos get you because they spin the wheel and they show you it's hit on black. And after the 7th or 8th black, people are more inclined to come and say it's bound to hit red, right? It's hit black that many times. And the truth is, it's the same odds every time you spin the wheel. And so the thinking is, there's really no harm from asking. I think a lot of times we get wrapped up in ourselves of worrying that the person's going to say no. But if you took that worry off the table and said, you know what, I'm challenging you to get the no's. Go ask for stuff and get the no's. And the no's is totally fine. In fact, the no's is a win. I'm asking you to get the no's. And what you'll find is the yeses come out of the woodwork because they're waiting for someone to ask. And for the people who never ask, you never know. And so last summer, my company was in trouble with the actor strikes. Production had it all but shut down. And we were just starting to feel the effects of that, which means marketing slows down because production is slowed down and everything else is slowed down. And so my team came to me and said, hey, it was only the 8th day of the month, but they came to me and said, hey, we're really worried that we're going to miss our target by 50%. And if we miss our target this month by 50%, we're probably going to have to lay off a lot of people next month. And they spiraled on this without me. And I stepped in, and believe it or not, I had just seen Wayne Hoffman talk about this theory the night before. And so I applied it. I came in and said, look, we can't control the strike. We don't know what's going on, but what we can control is asking. And I feel like it's a prescriptive thinking that no one has any work just because of the strike. I believe there's probably still work to be had, and we should not worry about offending our clients by asking for it. And I think we should ask in a very specific way. I think the conversation should go something like this. Hey, how are you doing? How are you holding up? I'm sure the strike has made it challenging for you. It's certainly made it challenging for us, but we've really enjoyed our working relationship over the years. I think we've done some amazing projects together, and we really enjoy working with you. If you have anything, big or small, that we can help out with, preferably sooner than later, we'd really appreciate it. And so I challenged my team to go out and get 10 no's in 1 week. And so they started firing off emails and texts and calls. And one of my creative directors reached out the next day and said, hey, I got 3 no's. And I was like, okay, great. He said, but I got 2 new jobs.
Nice.
And so over the course of the next 3 weeks, we hit our targets. So we didn't miss it all, and we didn't lay off anybody. And I just felt, wow, the power of shifting your thinking. And all it came from was me relating a story and encouraging people to get a no, which usually feels like a failure. And this way I made it feel like a success.
Yeah, I love that. Yes lives in a world of no. And did it get your team to maybe think a little bit more creatively? Like, why don't we think outside the box? How did that change the team?
Well, I feel like my team, look, we're all creatives in our industry. And so the creatives turn into salespeople as they build relationships. So they didn't start off as salespeople, they started off as creatives. And I feel like none of the creatives want to think of themselves as a salesperson. I don't want to be salesy. I want the work to speak for itself. Just see the work and come get the product. And that's fine. And that does happen. But I think sales is interesting because I'm learning this too. I was never a sales guy. I was always a creative. And I feel like sales is all relationship. It's, do we like each other? Do you trust me with the work? Can we work together? Can we communicate well? Can we formulate a shorthand so we can get the work done better? That's where the sales lies. And what I've been discovering is connecting with people and just being vulnerable and sharing your hopes and dreams and interests or whatever it is makes the connection that then encourages people to want to work together.
How much of your success at your organization with your team do you attribute to luck versus hard work?
I would attribute a good portion of it to hard work. Now, in our industry, it's a little strange because, for example, if we get a theatrical movie trailer to work on, chances are there's at least 2 or 3 or 4 other agencies also working on it. Now, we're all getting paid, which is great, but only one will, quote unquote, go to finish, which will be the one in theaters. And part of that process is a little bit of luck. Like, we'll do a trailer, another agency will do a trailer, and then they'll present it to the higher ups at the studio, and one person might nix your trailer, and all of a sudden it's gone. It could get all the way through testing and market research, and that may make or break your trailer. And it can go all the way to the filmmakers. And at the end of the day, Barry Bruckheimer's like, yeah, no, I don't want that. I want the other one. And so that part of it is something we really can't control. All we can control is say, we won't stop until you tell us to stop. So we'll keep reinventing it, trying new things. I always encourage my people to do alt versions, meaning if you get a note or a suggestion to do something, you're finding it's not working, you still need to do it. We still need to present it and do it in the best light possible. But if you have an idea of what could work better, do that one as well. Sometimes you got to show them something they weren't expecting to see to get them to think different.
What's your favorite project you've worked on over the last several years?
I have 2 that I showcase a lot. And again, they're a little bit older now, but we worked on Ford versus Ferrari. We did the theatrical trailer for that, which for me, if you can tell, it's cars and guitars. Those are my hobbies. The car thing is a big thing. My dad and I grew up loving Carroll Shelby and Shelby Cobras and Ford Mustangs, and knew the story. And so I'd been following the story for a long time. And if you're not aware, that story took 10 years to make. It kind of had so many iterations and so many different characters. And it wasn't until they landed on Matt Damon and Christian Bale. And so I kind of fought my way into that project. It wasn't a project we were on, but I reached out to the client. I was like, oh my God, I have to work on this. This is such a passion project. If this project slipped by me and I didn't get to work on it, I would be remiss forever. And so we were fortunate enough to get a crack at it and cracked it. And so it's super fun feather in the cap for me personally, but also to work on such a great film. I love that movie. And then the other one we did was Kong Skull Island, which was a really fun trailer. We got brought in late in the campaign. There are already 2 other trailers, which sometimes they'll do a third one, but they only do a third one if they feel they're missing something. And so the client had come to us and a few other agencies and said, hey, we need to make this movie more fun. Like, it can't just be dark, serious action movie. It's got to be something with more grit and fun and tongue-in-cheek. And so we worked on this awesome piece. I had a great editor working with me, and he just pulled a rabbit out of the hat with a great cue. And then we modified the cue in the back end. We re-recorded it with a full orchestra and choir. And it was just, it fulfilled the music part of me. It fulfilled the action part of me. It fulfilled the fun part of me. And just a trailer I love to this day.
Both great films. How do you build great culture at your organization? What's 1 or 2 tactical tips that other people in other industries might be able to use?
You need to find ways to keep people connected. I think look at the calendar, find out what's happening in the calendar on a monthly basis and lean in. I feel like there's a lot of cultural things that you can tap into, if it's, Pride Month, or if it's Jewish Heritage Month or Asian Culture Month. Those are really great to do a deeper dive and maybe bring something to the table and educate the team into something maybe they didn't know. It sounds weird after, not being in school, but I think today people really do enjoy learning new things and being part of a culture. And then I feel like it's really important, as hard as you work, it's also really important to create a social environment where people have an opportunity to connect without being judged. It's just an opportunity to kind of hang out. Pandemic, believe it or not, was a great learning experience for us, especially taking a team. At the time, we had about 160 people, and getting everyone out of an office and putting everyone on Zoom. It was a real challenge to say, how do we keep people connected? Kudos to the team. Everyone had some really amazing ideas. We created an online trivia night for the team, and then we actually roped our clients into playing online trivia with us. We did Zoom yoga classes. We did Zoom writing classes. We did some wine tasting classes where we sent wine to everybody and had everyone jump on Zoom and do it together. So that was a great lesson, because the truth is, in person, it's a lot easier. But I think you always have to be aware of, it can't all be about the work all the time. So how are you going to break up the monotony? How are you going to break it up and find interesting, fun ways to connect? And not everything has to cost a lot of money. That was the crazy thing. Like, we would do a great Christmas party. We'll do a summer party where we invite families to come together. And at years where that's good, that's awesome. In years where that's tight, there are a lot of other things you can do and be cost effective and still bring people together.
I want to get to the last question here in just a second, ask you about your leadership style and maybe a big failure or success you've had in the last few years. But I want to pause for just a second, give a shout out to the 100+ school districts nationwide that are allowing smartsocial.com to create videos, training guides that my incredible team is creating to keep kids safe on the internet so they can shine online. Shout out to my incredible team at smartsocial.com as we are helping to teach kids how to keep it light, bright, and polite, the title of my book, so that they can learn how to create a positive online presence for themselves. Every kid has a trailer. Every single kid is Despicable Me 4 coming out in theaters in the near future. I don't work at Disney anymore, but every single kid needs a trailer. And shout out to my incredible team that's teaching kids how to, in an authentic way, figure out what they're good at on the inside so they can build that awesome trailer that goes, whoa, you traveled and you volunteered and you did that. I got to have you as a part of my organization. I got to have you as a part of my college and all these different things. So we're just so grateful for everybody doing that. And we're really making a big difference. A long way to go. So we're back to the episode. My biggest question for you that I want to finish up with here is, what's one big story about a success or failure that made you a better leader?
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to get vulnerable, I feel like I had a creative director who came in. I hired, an executive who came in and brought a book of business. Really great guy, incredibly talented. I brought him in at the point in the company I was really doing all the AV side myself, and my partners are doing all the print side themselves. And I really wanted a breath of fresh air when someone to come to the table. And so I decided I was going to bring this guy in, and I was going to say yes to any idea he had, as uncomfortable as it might have made me. And so the first year was okay. The second year actually boomed. He was doing great. I was doing great. I felt like we had a great relationship. It brought some fresh energy to the team. And then the third year, everything turned, and he was going through some personal crisis at the time, but it all turned. And at some point I realized, as great as he is and as talented as he has a much different philosophy on leadership than I do. And I look at it as like the two coaches. Like, you look at football coaches, and there's the coach that if you make a bad play will be like, you're worthless, you're nothing, what are you doing? Get out of here, go sit on the bench. And then you have the other coach that you make a bad play, he comes in afterwards and he pulls you aside and he says, hey man, I'm really disappointed in your performance today. I just feel like head's not in the game. I'm not sure what's going on. I'm here to help you, but I can't have another performance like that. And both styles are right. It depends on who the audience is. And the problem is both styles are not right for the same audience. And so what I found is he led maybe a little more in the coach A, and I led a little more in the coach B. And what it was starting to do, because I didn't establish what I wanted the company to be like from the top down and have everyone fall in line, I was kind of having these diametric things happening that it started to feel schizophrenic at work. If a editor or creative director, a designer worked with him on something and then flipped and the next project worked with me, they'd be like, I don't know how to switch. I don't know how to make that change. And I found that I allowed him to kind of go off the rails a little bit in a style of leadership that I didn't want. And then the second lesson that happened was, as he started spiraling and going through whatever he was going through personally, I didn't pull him aside and say, hey, I'm really disappointed in the way this is working. This isn't really working. We need to fix it. And I kind of just let it go, because I would say this is the side where maybe being kind isn't as kind. Right. I thought I was helping him. I know he's going through a personal crisis. I didn't want to add weight to whatever he was going through. And at the same time, I did him a great disservice because I wasn't renewing his contract and I wasn't saying anything. And I wasn't letting him know, like, hey, whatever you're going through, I appreciate it, but this isn't working right now. And unless we fix it, it's not going to work. And so eventually I had to let him go. And when I let him go, he was totally shocked. And it wasn't for like a year or two later that I sat him down and I told him, I said, hey, I got to be honest with you. This was a mistake. And I did you a great disservice by not being honest with you and upfront as we were going and kind of letting you know where my head was at, what was working, what wasn't working. And I didn't try to fix it. So I apologize.
That's really vulnerable of you. Brett, I want to thank you today for being here. You've shared a bunch of great tips. I love the stories. Yes lives in a world of no. Absolutely love that. Not only are you a great leader, you've got an incredible company. We come from the same cloth at Disney as editors. But turned into kind of creative businessmen in a way. But I just love that, especially being creative with, what if they say no? Let's try it. There's probably, out of 10 phone calls, there's 3 yeses there.
I have a B part to this story that I just added recently, because now we're worried about crew unions going on strike. So everything's slowing down for the moment. But I was encouraged to read a book called 12-Week Year. So I read the 12-Week Year and finished it right before the slowdown started happening right now. And one of the interesting things about the 12-week year is they did some research and found that most businesses do the best business in December, because the year's ending, they're up against the wire and they've got to get all their numbers in. And so they go crazy. That's why everyone has massive Christmas sales and tries to close the books on a high. And the theory was, what if we took that, instead of making it 12 months, compress that into 12 weeks? So every week is like a month. You've got to get it done and you got to crush it and get to the goal inside of 12 weeks. And what that really comes down to is, whatever tasks you need to create for yourself, they need to be attainable, they need to be doable tasks, and they need to be daily. They kind of equate, or at least what I took from the book, is these tasks that we do to move our business forward have to be like a workout. They have to be like a daily workout. Like, hey, I want to lose weight. It's like, all right, well, you're gonna cut down your caloric intake and you're gonna exercise more, right? But it has to be, I'm going to work out 20 minutes Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm going to cut my caloric intake to 1,500. And those are my goals, and setting checklists that, did I accomplish those goals at the end of the week? Even though in that first week, you're not going to see a difference, right? You're not going to lose your 10 pounds in that week. If you do it on 12 weeks and are consistent, you'll probably lose the weight. And so I tried to apply that to what we were doing with our client outreach. So I said, I challenge you to do a daily workout where you reach out to 5 clients every day. And they could be new, they could be old, could be clients you haven't talked to in a while, they can be clients you talked to a few days ago. But just staying in the forefront, staying in your client's line of sight. And one of those reach outs needs to be the no ask.
Define what the no ask is. Go into that a little bit, please.
If you're reaching out to clients, we categorize them different ways. Some are, hey, I want to share some recent work we did or some work I saw out in the world. There's a social relevance of like, hey, I don't know, my son just got bar mitzvah. I can't believe I'm through the hype. I know you have a bar mitzvah coming. I'm happy to share what I learned. And then the third one was this ask for something that you think they might say no, but ask anyway. It's that the yes lives in a world of no. And so I'm just going to say, hey, I heard you're working on Joker 2. The film looks incredible. We'd love to help out in any way we can. And I know that campaign's probably way underway, and they probably have 4 agencies working on it, and the chances of us getting work on that are probably slim. But at the same time, I don't know. Maybe they had a bad day. Maybe the other vendors aren't doing a great job. And sometimes just being in the line of sight is all you need to get in the door.
I love that.
Yeah.
It comes back to that trying. Yes lives in a world of no. I think that's incredible. And the 12 weeks year is awesome. I have one more last question before we finish up. Tell us a little bit about your meeting cadence with your team. How often do you meet? I think that you've hinted at that. That really is, we see the key to a lot of business success.
We operate on a thing called EOS. I don't know if I can mention that here or not, but the Entrepreneur Operating System. And in a creative agency, when I heard about this, and my partner brought it to the table saying, hey, I think we need to work this into the way we do things, I had massive pushback because I was like, we're a creative agency. I don't want to be corporate. We don't do things that way. But one of the greatest insights that came from EOS is a meeting cadence and an agenda for a meeting that works every time. And so we have a leadership team meeting every Wednesday at 1:00, and it's an hour and 15 minutes. And it's very structured. You have to get there on time. We always end on time. We have a couple things we review every time. We have some updates of like, where's your head at? Where are you coming from? We have a scorecard that kind of measures like, how's the company doing? We have some goals for the quarter that we kind of review and catch up on how we're doing with those. We have a list of to-dos. What did we say we were going to do last meeting? Did we get them done? And then we have this section called IDS, which is identify, discuss, and solve. And so basically any issues that are happening with the company, we all open table it and try not to end the conversation until we've come up with a solve. And if you come up with a solve, it usually goes on the to-do list as something to do for the next week. And it sounded overly complex when we first heard it in the way EOS, the jargon and things that go along with it. But when I think about it this way, I really try to run most of my meetings that way. It's really effective. And you don't have to do the scorecard for every meeting. That may not be necessary, but really trying to identify an agenda, like, why am I meeting with you? What am I trying to accomplish? Are the things that we need to solve together? And then starting and stopping on time. It's just amazing how productive you get and how much respect you have and how you can really structure your whole day knowing that like, I get this done, it's going to happen in the window, and then I'm going to move on to the next thing.
That's awesome. Love EOS. Actually, it's a game changer. Did you notice that your employees were happier after you implemented EOS?
I felt that the employees were definitely happier after we implemented EOS. Mostly because I think they felt they were more in the know. They understood what was happening more. Our communication plan got better. And the other thing that came from this EOS and kind of defining roles and responsibilities, which sounded like it'd be more challenging in a creative industry, but we actually set a career path for them by them understanding the roles and responsibilities of the job they're in, and then being able to look forward to the roles and responsibilities of the job they wanted. They could start to see a career path of like, okay, how do I get from A to B to C? And in the past, in a creative industry, if you wanted to be an editor, you'd have to start out as an assistant editor. And then if that was working for you and you cut some stuff on the side and showed us what you could do, you become a junior editor. And you become a full-fledged editor when you had enough finishes and the clients liked enough work. But that was pretty haphazard, random, maybe too much relying on luck and not enough on feeling like I'm in control of my future. And so doing it this way really set a path and a course and got people focused on what they want to do and how to get there.
Hey, Brett, this has been a blast. Thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you for having me. This was awesome.
Yeah, it's been great. For the rest of you listening, we look forward to talking with you in the future. If you know any leaders, CEOs, or anyone that's working on incredible projects that talk about the bright topics, business, real estate, innovation, growth, or high tech, and how they're building an incredible team that makes a difference in the world, we'd love to chat with them. We'll see you all on the next episode. Thanks so much. And as always, remember to keep it light, bright, and polite. Your kids are watching what you're doing online. We'll see all of you soon. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Bright Podcast, where we interview experts on business, real estate, innovation, growth, and high tech to talk about their leadership skills and tactics in their industry. As the title of my book says, remember to keep it light, bright, and polite, because others will see what we're doing online. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you on the next episode.